Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. And I am frankly so excited because I just came up with the best video idea. When I am trying to think about how I want to craft my YouTube channel, what I tend to do is think about, okay, what are the videos that I like to watch? What are the things I enjoy? And lately, I've really been enjoying two creators' videos. One, of course, is Books and Lala Kayla. I love everything she does. I would watch her read the phone book, frankly. And sometimes, her videos are super long and she's detailed, and I love that about it. I feel like I'm hanging out with her. I don't know her, but I feel like I know her, and she does a really good job creating that connection. I also have really been loving Michaela's channel, and she is a fellow mystery, thriller, horror, suspense lover, and just her opinions on books are so funny. She's so direct too. I don't know if it's a Midwestern thing or what, but I feel like I'm so polite. Even if I don't like a book, I'm like, well, I could see why this was this, that, or the other. And she just gets into it. All of this to say, I came up with a video that I think is so fun. It's a subgenre that I'm coining called book club thrillers. And here's why I say that. I have been in book clubs for many, many years. And I actually run one for my podcast. I have one, and then I have two with groups of friends of mine. So these have been going for many years at this point, and there have been, I want to say, in the hundreds of books that we have read for book club. And I feel like at this point, I have a really good sense as to what makes a good book club book versus a bad book club book. I actually don't even really have time to record this, but I'm so excited about it because I want to get this video out to people because I would love to get some recommendations for thriller books that would be good for book clubs. Now, these are different than your typical thriller, right? Because what I want when I think of a book club book is I want something that's discussable. I want issues. I want to be able to unpack things with my fellow book club members. And if it's a book that's just like, yeah, it was entertaining. Did you guess the twist? No, I didn't. Did you? No. Okay. That doesn't really necessitate a good book club conversation. So I want something with meat. I want something with bite. What would you have done in this situation? That sort of thing. So I have 10 books sitting here with me today that I think would be fantastic for your book club. Now, your book club has to be cool with some darkness because these are darker books. These are not light and fluffy reads, but you probably wouldn't expect that from thrillers. But I will dive right in and I will let you know if my book club has read one of these and what we thought as a collective, because I think that's fun data. You don't want to pick a clunker for your book club because no one likes that. I'm going to divide this video up between page turners with substance and then ones that are a little more literary that you might need to take your time with a little bit more because you know the people that are a part of your book club best. If you suggest some of the more literary ones, they might be like, this was boring, but anyway, I'll make that delineation. So let me begin with the ones that I thought were page turners. And number one is a book you've heard of. I mean, frankly, everybody's heard of it. It is The One by John Mars. And I loved this book from pretty much the first sentence. And you get this really cool front page when you learn about this thing called Match Your DNA. And throughout the book, you come to find out that there is this new technology that's been created. And in it, if you sign up for it, they take your DNA and they basically match you with your biological perfect match. This book follows 5 very different people who took this DNA test and found their perfect match. Now, you might think, okay, cool. I would love to find my perfect match, but some of these people are married to other people. Some of these folks get matched with somebody from the same gender and they didn't know that they were queer and they don't think they're queer, but maybe they are if the DNA says they are. Some of them get matched with shady characters. I loved every storyline. This has a lot of alternating points of view, very short chapters, and honestly, I was hooked by all of them. I had to keep reading. I'm like, okay, I need to know what happens with the cop. What's going to happen with this lady? What's going to happen with this you know what I mean? It's one of those books where there wasn't one point of view that I was into more than the others. I was into all of them. This one's going to be good for people that read thrillers. This one's going to be good for people that don't read thrillers, but maybe are cool with things that are more speculative or just really good, engaging stories. We did this for my in-person book club and all of us enjoyed it. And it's one of those books that really is good for, okay, what would you do in this situation? Would you take the DNA test? Would you not? It was a great time. Next up in my page turner category is My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyunkin Braithwaite. And based on the title, you'll know what this one is about. It's about a woman whose sister is literally a serial killer. And this one's darkly comic, so it does have this sort of dark, macabre humor, so know that going into it. But it is about a Nigerian woman who has a younger sister who has a very inconvenient habit of killing her boyfriends. That's what she does. When she's done with them, she kills them. It says femme makes three, three, and they label you a serial killer. So as the book opens, she has killed her third boyfriend, and the sister, it's her sister. So she is tasked or agrees to help clean her up and like get her out of trouble essentially. But then Ayula has her eyes set on her sister's crush. And so the sister's like, no, you can't date this guy because you're going to kill him. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think this one is so good. I put it under the page turner category because the chapters are short. I mean, you can even see here, some of them are 1 or 2 pages. You can get through this super quickly. And for book club, I like shorter books because honestly, sometimes if a book is too long, people aren't going to love that. They might not have time for it. This one's only 223 pages, and maybe you can tell, but it's pretty small. So I think this one is a great pick. Next up in more of my page turner category is The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. You might know Ashley Audrain. She's the author of The Push, which is another novel that I absolutely ate up. I loved that one. It was so good. This one is great if you happen to be in a book club with your neighborhood group like I am. So, because it's about a group of neighbors that all live on the same street, and they are gathering at the beginning of the novel for a barbecue because it's the end of summer and everything is fabulous until Whitney, who is this picture perfect person that lives on their street, explodes in fury because her son has disobeyed her. And everybody at the party basically hears her veneer crack. They're like, oh, it's going down. Now we're kind of seeing who she really is. And then before long, this same boy, her son, falls from a window and he ends up getting put in the ICU. And over the course of these tense days, the women of the neighborhood grapple with what happened that night. This book, oh my gosh, there are sections of it that are seared in my memory because you're trying to figure out, like, did this woman have something to do with what happened to her son? Surely not, right? Surely they're this lovely family, but you have to read it to find out. Ashley Audrain is one of my favorite thriller authors, and she kills me with her last sentence. The last sentence of this absolutely made it for me. We did this for my book club, like I mentioned, and by and large, we enjoyed it. I think I liked it a lot. I think a lot of people thought it was good, but I think it's a great one for book club. Now, I want to say, when I say page turner, I say page turner for me. These are not popcorn thrillers. There's substance to it. There's bite with this. And this one, What Happened to Nina by Dervla McTiernan, I think is fantastic. I really enjoyed this one. My book club enjoyed it as well. And I, as you can tell, was like obsessed with this book as I was reading. I was putting tabs everywhere. This one is about a couple that goes on a road trip. It's a boyfriend-girlfriend, and they are in college or just recently graduated college. And then only the son comes home. And the daughter's family is like, what happened to Nina, essentially, what's going on here. And it works through the perspectives of the moms to figure out what happened to Nina and where is she. And what's interesting is that Nina's family does not come from money. They're sort of almost ostracized in their town for reasons you come to find out. But the boy's family, Simon's family, is very, very wealthy. And so they are going on the attack and basically sort of twisting things around and victim blaming and doing all these terrible things. I couldn't put this one down. I read it on an airplane and I was just flipping the pages, and this one's shocking. It had a couple twists and turns that I was not expecting. I don't want to say much more than that because I feel like I'm going to spoil it, but this was one that I definitely wanted to discuss, and by and large, my whole book club enjoyed it. All right, next is Defending Jacob. Now, you could get this from any little free library. I swear to you, every time I go to a little free library, a copy of Defending Jacob is there. That's actually where I got this copy, and I was like, okay, I've seen this. I know there's a TV show. What's so special about this book? Why are people talking about it? And I read his more recent book with our book club, and I really, really like that one too. So that's a sub recommendation. It's called Something Long. All That Is Mine I Carry With Me. It's the cover's here. That one was really good. Another really good ending. This one, though, I kind of wanted to go back and read some more William Landay, and Defending Jacob is a legal thriller. This is about Andy Barber, who has been the assistant district attorney in Massachusetts for more than 20 years. He's well respected. He's tenacious. And then a shocking crime shatters their town. And Andy is blindsided by what happens next. His 14-year-old son is charged with the murder of a fellow student. Crazy. If you want a book that's like, what would I do in this situation? This is a really good one. If you like books that have courtroom scenes, you get that here. There were some unexpected reveals in this one. My only hesitation is that it's quite long, but like I'm telling you, I was hooked from tip to tail, and there's a reason this one is so popular. There's a reason so many people talk about it. I would have loved to read this with people so that we could discuss the ending. All right, my last one in more of the page turnery category is The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I love this book. Obviously, I love all of them, but Julie Clark has a special place in my heart. When I think of her writing, literary suspense is what I call it, because it is this very compelling page-turnery story, but also has a lot to say. This one is about two women, and they meet at an airport. You might know a husband like Claire's, ambitious, admired, has deep pockets, but behind closed doors, he has a bad temper, and he's stalking Claire's every move. And then a chance meeting at an airport brings her together with a woman who seems equally desperate to flee her life. And together they make a last-minute decision to switch tickets. And they go where they go as the other person. But then one of the planes crash and the wrong woman dies. And this woman that's the survivor sort of has no other choice than to assume this person's identity. But with that, she is getting all of her secrets. I loved this one. This one's so good. And another one where you're going to say, can you believe it? We have not read this with my book club yet, now that I'm thinking about it. And I feel like we should, because I would love to reread it and discuss with somebody. I also have an alternate ending from the author. I went to an event and she was there, and she, I think, was giving them away, or maybe it came with Book of the Month. But at any rate, there are more than one way. There's more than one way to understand the ending or think about the ending, and I'm glad to have all of that extra information. And if you're one of those weirdos like me that likes to read books on planes that take place on planes, you know what I mean? This would be a really good one. All right, now we are getting into the ones that are more literary. I call this literary suspense. That is my favorite genre. It's not a real genre, but it should be, and I feel like it's my sweet spot. Another book that I did with my in-person book club, and it's Notes on an Execution by Dania Kakufka. Now, this one is darker, as you might guess, because it is about an execution. It's about this man that is on death row. And what is interesting about it is that it is a serial killer story, but it's not your typical serial killer story, because this one is telling the serial killer's story primarily through the eyes of three women in his life. And what's so interesting about this is you also get the serial killer's point of view. He knows he's on death row. He doesn't want to die, but he wants to have his story remembered. He wants to have his story understood. And it is just... The author did a really good job kind of not giving him his due and not glamorizing and not glamoring the crimes that he was in. And through the narration of these three women, you're figuring out what happened. This one, we had one of the best book club conversations. We talked about capital punishment. We talked about the ethics of it. We talked, I think, about like your death row meals, and just, it was still a fun book to discuss, even though it sounds like it's darker. And it is dark, and it's a bummer in a lot of ways, but also eye-opening and interesting and really compelling. This one's a little bit lighter. This is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I say lighter. None of these are light. As always, if you're suggesting it for book club, check content warnings, because again, none of these are light, but this one follows these three friends, and for as long as they could remember, these women were told how lucky they were. They were rescued from family tragedies and were all raised in this woman's home kind of together. Their foster mother lived on this farm. It was a seemingly idyllic estate, and they were given a chance at a happy life that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And you're following these women in present day, and they are still very close. They are essentially sisters, but then you are also going back to the before. And the before is what happened before, because the book kicks off with them discovering a body underneath this idyllic farm home that they grew up in. And that person has been there for a long time. So this book sort of shoots back and goes back and forth between present and past to have you figure out who it is under this farmhouse and how did they get there. Content warning for child abuse in this one. That's a pretty prominent theme, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed reading about it. I think it was good read. I think it was thoughtful. I think the author did some good research when she was writing it, just to kind of see, you know, what it might have been like during this time period to live in one of these foster homes. Another one we did with book club and they all enjoyed. All right, another thriller that I think is great for book club is Take It Back by Kia Abdullah. And all of her books, I would say, are good discussion books. There's one that I really want to read that I've not yet read, and it is this one. I can't remember the title. Take It Back, I did read, and this is another legal thriller. And it's about Zara Khalil, who is a barrister or a lawyer. She's sort of battling her own demons. She has her own stuff going on, and she has sort of left her career in law to pursue a job at a sexual assault center, and she helps victims during their most needed time. Victims like Jody Wolf. You find out Jody is a 16-year-old survivor of sexual assault, and she accuses 4 boys in her class of an unthinkable crime. And the community gets torn apart like this because she has what they're calling a facial deformity, and the boys that she's accusing are from hardworking immigrant families, and they all have proven alibis. And even Jody's best friend doesn't believe that this thing happened, but the lawyer, or the former lawyer Zara, does believe her, and she's determined to figure out what actually happened, no matter the cost. This one, man, it's a twisty one. It's a mind messer. I didn't want to say mind fuck, but that's what it is, right? It really had me questioning what I was reading, what I believed. It also made me uncomfortable because you want to believe her. You want to believe the survivor. And yet there are a lot of reasons why you're like, but maybe I don't believe her. You know what I mean? And like, that's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation to be put in. But I like that about this author. She pushes the boundaries. She's also a lawyer herself. So I appreciate some of the legal aspects. You know, obviously she has personal experience with that. Overall, highly recommend it. Last but not least is a serial killer book that's really not about the serial killer. It is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This one has a shocking opening. It takes place in 1978 in a serial killer essentially breaks into this sorority home and murders some of the women that are living there. And so the rest of the story essentially follows the crime and trying to figure out who he is, what happened, and is he connected to something that happened 25 years earlier. And it basically is breaking the story of the serial killer. And what I loved about this is this book is not about the serial killer. It's not glorifying him. He remains unnamed. It's more about the victims. It's more about the people that refuse to forget. It's more about the folks that are advocating. I didn't do this with my book club, but I think this would make great conversation. And again, you know, it's very dark, but I love that this author was really able to explore people's fascination with true crime in a way that didn't feel exploitative. She also never names the serial killer because it's not about him necessarily. It's about the victims. If you didn't like her book, by the way, Luckiest Girl Alive, or the one with the sister, the favorite sister, never fear, because I didn't like those either. But I really, really enjoyed this one. That is it for me today. If you want more book club thrillers, please let me know. I'm sure I could do many more videos of this, but in the comments, if you have a thriller that you would think would make for great discussion, please let me know. I'm always looking to add new books to our book club list. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I do videos like this once or twice a week, and I also have a podcast called Book Talk, etc. Speaking of, we have to record, so I'm going to end this here, but don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.